AKA Ward 4 Candidates Forum Part 1. This is Natalia Stracuzzi, candidate for the office of Delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives in the District of Columbia for the Statehood Green Party. Here are some photos of some of the volunteers for the candidates at the forum. I would also like to say something to AKA. I was told that I would have 3 minutes at the end of this forum to speak about my platform. At the last moment, AKA told me that I would no longer be able to do this. Myself, I can sleep with a clear conscience at night. I would like to ask the organizers at AKA how they can sleep with a clear conscience based on the fact that I'm running on one of the most important offices in the District of Columbia, and that I've been left out of every forum and have not been interviewed by any local media and only been given the option by PFW to speak at one of their open candidate days. Thank you. I hope you enjoy my video.
From one of my council members, Michael Brown, who's a strong supporter to talk to people down in front of you. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time because I know you have a lot of questions. Just to give you a brief background of myself, I'm a 25-year coach at Anacostia Senior High School and started my first stint coach at Golden High School under Coach Rick Jones. I had 4 children in the public charter school and public school. And I have 2, one at Wilson and one at Anacostia right now. Ms. Simmons, and I'm going to be nice. Right.
Yeah.
My goal for running today is, what is reform? And if we had a real look at what is reform, we had 5 years of mess, starting with Chancellor Reed. We've destroyed our schools. We're now selling our schools. We're doing everything for developers. We're putting senior citizens out the city. Senior citizens who are raising children in this city because we've been told that parents don't care, they don't feed them, they come to school with nappy heads, and they do all those things that you want, that you think you see. I'm here today, not as a politician, but as a Washingtonian who can tell you that if you go to Ballou Senior High School, you see 100 kids standing outside all day. Is that truancy on the parents' part, or is that truancy on the government's part? I can go to Anacostia because I don't wear a tie. I can't go to class. Is that education? Is that truancy? Because guess what happens? The law says after 3 times, I don't get the student. I send the police to your resident and I lock you up, and you go stand before the judge and you tell me why that child is not in school. But the law says when a child gets to school grounds, that child belongs to the district government, and for him or her to stand outside in the cold, like I saw at Ballou, it's a travesty, not to just to anybody, but it's a travesty to those kids because they're not getting quality education, because they're missing classes. The second part of that, the board has failed us. And when I say failed you, in 5 years they haven't had 1 hearing on parent participation. They haven't gone out, they haven't talked about it, they haven't done anything. Let me even take you further. When the test cheat scandal came about at Noyes Elementary School, I've asked people across this city, look at what was going on. I had to go to my daughter, a 14-year-old child in elementary school, me a 13-year-old child in elementary school, and say, hey, would you mind standing up with your dad to let the city know that we're paying people to educate you, and they're standing up telling you how to change the answers on your tests, how not to educate you. And then at the end of the day, they gave the school $180,000 in 2 years of your tax dollars. My last point before I sit down, Ms. Simmons, is we're always crucifying folks. And I was at a forum yesterday and I heard the Washington Post try to get Councilman Brown a hard time. But nobody on the board would tell you the president got a $26 million contract for her company, and they voted on it. There's only 3 members of the board that didn't agree with it. That was from wards 8, 5, and 7, the most disadvantaged people in this city. She got a $26 million contract before the board even voted on Common Core status. But the district government allowed the state office to get him a contract. So when we talk about getting on people, we just can't say, look at our council members when it's across the board. And when the school system allowed 150 children at Anacostia Senior High School to graduate because Ms. Obama was the keynote speaker, and then turned around and wrote those 125 kids and told them, oh, you didn't graduate in September, come back to school because you don't have a diploma and we're not giving it to you.
That's right.
When we look at, a young lady said the number of people coming into the city that don't have DC tags and residence. Well, why don't you go to Wilson Senior High School and watch a baseball game when you see 26 kids pull up in Mercedes-Benz and Volvos and they have Maryland and Virginia tags, but they go to Wilson Senior High School. Is this where our tax, we put more tax dollars in folks that don't live in our city than we do for the kids that live in our city. And on my last point, charter schools are openly seeking children from out of state, but it's your tax dollars that are paying for their education. That's why I'm running for the Board of Education, because it's time to stop. It's time to get true parent involvement, and it's trying to bring our money back to the city and educate the kids who live in our city. Thank you.
Because this is all about elections, that early voting in the District of Columbia starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I know in every special election and early voting case in years past, and our council member from Ward 4 can correct me if I'm wrong, but the office in Judiciary Square is always available for early voting. Right. And that's the one at 441 4th Street. You know where it is on the red line.
Yeah. Judiciary.
Judiciary Square Metro.
Right.
But if you want to know if there's another site where you can cast your ballot, call 727-2525, 727-2525. And with that, having already gone through the front door, I'll give an introduction to Ward 4 DC Council Member Muriel Bowser. And I've got lots of education-related questions, as you guys could imagine. One, I'd like just a yes or no, or I haven't decided yet. We used to have an ombudsman in DC Public Schools and a parent sort of responsibility resource office. We no longer have either of those. There is talk that an ombudsman should be restored on the DC government payroll. Just exactly where it could be, there's a lot of debate about. Do you think, yes, no, maybe so, there should be an ombudsman for schools?
Yes, and
Yes.
Thanks. Okay. Wanted you guys on the record because it sounds like it's going to happen from the conversations I've had with some members on the council, so that's interesting. The other question is, excuse me? Well, then we wouldn't know, would we? The other question is, this is from the audience, what will you do to increase reading levels? There are students graduating from high school, and this should scare the heck out of all of us if this is indeed true, and they would be the ones to tell us if it's not. There are students graduating from high school with a 3rd grade reading level. What do you do to change that? Well, no, Mary, now you don't have the job. You said, how long? 5 years?
Yeah, she went, yeah.
You either already have done something or you plan to do something the next go around.
So first of all, we don't run DC Public Schools. And I cannot dictate, nor do I want to dictate, the curriculum. That said, one of the things that No Child Left Behind put in was an annual reading and math test. Clearly, the accountability measures are lacking, because if we know kids aren't reading on grade level, and let me tell you, there are schools, McKinley Tech, 90+% are reading and doing math on grade level. Spingard, it's 18%, Anacostia High School, 18%. So we know there are kids who are not reading at grade level. Whose fault is it for giving them a diploma? The school system certifies it. The state does not. So that's one area where we can improve. But let me tell you what we have done to improve this. The District of Columbia and 46 other states have put in game-changing literacy and math standards. They are called the Common Core State Standards, and they require students to incorporate thinking in reading. They require writing, and they also require multimedia, multidisciplinary, so you can do plays, and it invites social studies teachers back in. It invites the art teachers back in. All the curriculum, all the teachers who have been squeezed out by No Child Left Behind. So that is why you are seeing reading levels rising.
So they're graduating at third grade levels because it's not the school board's job to make sure that they are, or it's because
Somebody is passing them. Somebody is certifying them.
but they don't read, Mary. They can't read, Mary. So they can't get a job.
But, you know, I think it's true what Mary said, is that the State Board of Education really does not have the charge to address that issue. And that's not something the State Board does. But what we can do is advocate. We can use our role as advocates and as a public voice. We are the only elected representatives and who does education in the city. The school board, the superintendent can't fire us, the mayor can't fire us, the chancellor can't fire us. We can speak up. We can emphasize, we can stress, and we can continue to hold hearings and a public forum for parents, for students, for teachers, for administrators, for everyone who has an issue with the reading levels, the abysmal reading levels that we're seeing, to come forward and address that issue and make sure that we, as a board, hold the other parties, the state, the superintendent, the chancellor, the school system accountable.
And the public parties. What they're saying is, as school board members, they couldn't do nothing. Now Marvin's like, well, now Marvin's got to explain to you why you should elect him when they telling him he can't do nothing. And we're going directly to the candidates, because it's obvious that education is like permeating every issue that's coming up.
Yes.
What I wanted to do is tell you what I would do as a board member. One of the things as an elected official, you have a right to go to the council and to talk about issues. We can't continue to fire quality teachers and bring in folks who just want a job so they can clear up their college tuition and then they leave here and go. When I say that Michelle Reed left us in a bind, she left us in a bind because she started firing quality teachers across the board. Not just quality teachers, but engineering staff, assistant administrative staff. And so what we need to do is find, when I say they don't have anything to do with it, the board's role is to certify on the DC public school whether a teacher is highly qualified. And in the public school system, if you don't know the law, that means pass practice 1, pass practice 2, and be a principal that passed the ISLAC. And the ISLAC is a test that tells you that you've been certified as a principal. So we get quality administrators along with quality teachers with help from the council, and I know we're going to get help from the parents because they want to see their child succeed. We have too many schools in the District of Columbia where we have, and I'm willing to bet you, 20% of the class is being taught by substitute teachers or aides, such as Sharp Help. Going to Sharp Help any day, you might see 5 substitutes in the class. That's right here in Ward 4. So if we can get back quality teachers, and I'm not saying not bringing new teachers, but why don't they bring in a new teacher so they can learn from those who have spent 25 and 30 years? Because there's one course that they don't teach in Teach for America. Classroom management is something that you gotta learn.
Mr. Brown, Mary, Gal, Girly, all y'all back there, AJ, you're up. Thank you so much, Mary. I know